One thing people might not know about me would be that I really am probably a pretty raging introvert. I really like to spend time alone. I am very comfortable to be alone, but I'm never alone. In terms of something that I think would be brave that I've done is I went back to get my MBA when I was 50 years old. It was the most fun thing I have done this decade. I really had a blast. I made all of these friends that are in their 20s and their 30s, and so I loved it. I'm so glad that I did that. Something that is a habit that I do daily is that I start my day kind of slow. I take at least 2 hours to get ready in the morning. When I wake up in the morning, I have what I call coffee with sugar. Sugar's my dog. And so I have my coffee with my dog and my two favorite things, and I sit there and I say my prayers, and I get focused for the day, and I write out a little list of what I want to accomplish in the day. And so my other practice that I do every day is I take care of my parents at my home right now, and so I need to cook for them. And so when I get home, I put my hair up and I put my apron on, and everybody knows to kind of stay out of that kitchen, and that's sort of my little quiet time. And I cook, and I'm just quiet, and I love that time. I look forward to it.
I have recently been incorporating student interns, female interns, into my work, and I think that gives a great experience for those students, those young women, to kind of find out what the real world is like. The other way is to volunteer as a counselor for the Rotary Youth Exchange Program. So when we have students come in from other countries, female students are assigned a counselor through the club. And it's been a great opportunity for me to kind of guide them in the year that they're here studying abroad, to help them understand what the real world is like. The one way I've found that I can impact a cause that I really believe in is to just get involved. I really enjoy volunteering and getting in there and working for an organization that I believe in. And I want to be sure to spend time learning as much as I can about that organization. And then once I've had that experience, I am not shy about spreading the word. I have a couple of guiding principles and a lot of great quotes that I try to follow. The one from Gandhi that says the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And it really speaks to me because I've learned so much about myself by exploring and experiencing things through other people's eyes. I also believe that it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. And that applies to other people, it applies to situations, it applies to life itself. That, you know, we need to accept things as they are, and so the serenity prayer also comes into play there as far as accepting things as they are. And sometimes we don't understand the reasons why things happen.
Someone who has had a real impact on me professionally and personally, I would say, is the former dean of the College of Liberal Arts, Kristen Sobolik. I watched her lead in some very challenging times, yet she did it with compassion. She had to make some very hard decisions, yet she was always transparent and open with her team. And I think I grew just from watching her and how she interacted with her employees. As the assistant dean in the College of Liberal Arts at Wright State, I have the pleasure to get to interact with students on a pretty regular basis. And I am constantly inspired by their humility and their hunger for their education and just how hard they work and all that they are grappling with in their personal lives that you would never even know if you didn't talk to them directly. They manage to succeed under great challenge at times. And so the student need is so great, and trying to find matches for all of that and trying to help them, equip them with what they need to be successful. I take that very seriously. But I am surrounded by creative people, and I get to collaborate with creative faculty, staff, and students all the time. So that's really rewarding for me, especially when it comes to events like Arts Gala or Arts Fundraiser. I would say where my role comes in is helping take all of these great creative energies and juices that we have flowing in the room and helping channel them into areas that we can have the most impact. And so I am a big believer in not doing the same thing over and over again just because it's easy and that's how we've always done it. And so I also try to lead by example and challenge others and myself to come up with different ways of doing things.
The characteristic that I believe every leader should possess is drive. Drive to get the job done, whatever it might be. That involves passion and enthusiasm, just driving. I think across the board it's about recruiting and retaining talent. You know, every good leader is good because of the team he or she has, and it's tough, particularly in this booming economy. It's tough particularly for nonprofit leaders. In my role, I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by a group of leaders from our industry who serve on our board of trustees and through our various committees. And so I'm just constantly watching and learning from and seeking advice from those leaders whom I highly respect.
The guiding principle of my life would be do for one what you would do for the many. That has served me well. You know, the issues are overwhelming, and if we can take one person at a time and empower them, give them the foundation that they need to launch a good life, it's big. There have been a lot of people that had an impact on my life, but you know, the one person that really stands out was when I was in graduate school. The chair of our urban studies department really took me under her wing, and she was a great mentor. And she always said, if you don't care who gets the credit, you can accomplish just about anything. And I have found that to be true. You know, to make sure that I grow and develop as a leader, it's really important to me to stay abreast of the political and economic trends that might affect our community. Things change quickly in our world, and you know, it's really important to try and stay a step ahead so that we're able to mobilize quickly for programs and services to serve the local need.
Bravery is, to me, not necessarily the absence of fear, but it's the knowledge that you are afraid, and it's how you deal with it. The bravest thing, I think, was shortly after my divorce, and this has been quite a while ago. I had preteen kids, and I was moving from Florida back to Ohio. And I knew that I had a goal in front of me. I was also bringing my 85-year-old grandmother with me, by the way. I had recently lost my mother to cancer, so I was struggling with that. And so I had several things I was grieving at the time. But the goal was to resettle my family. I wasn't afraid of meeting that goal. And the biggest thing I think that has helped me over the years, and with that goal and specifically that goal, was the resources that I knew I could reach out to for help. And those resources are my friends and my family. And those have always been there for me. In Ohio specifically, my best friend since I was 16 years old is here. And we always say to each other, you're there when I need someone to lift me up and to help me and to give me that hand. One of the things that I've done ever since I was young is make my bed. And I know there's a Navy SEAL admiral who talks about doing this and how important this is. And I do it because, and I've always done it because of my grandmother, who was a mentor to me, had a lot of input in raising me, and she used to just insist that I make my bed. And it is something important because it does give you that one success that you could do every day, even if you can't do anything else. You've made your bed. And then the other thing I try to do every day is do some kind of exercise. Even if it's raining in Ohio, if it's snowing in Ohio, if it's some horrible weather day and I can't get out and I can't walk, which is my form of exercise, my favorite. I try to do something. Live a life that you enjoy. And part of that life is your job. So if you can have a job that you love, that's great. So I go all the way back to the beginning. I love to write. I've always loved to write. So being able to make that part of what I do for a living is awesome. So I tell people, if you can do that, if you can find what you love and integrate that into what you do for a living, terrific. But build a life you love, and everything else will follow.
I've been really fortunate in my career to have a lot of people that have inspired me and impacted me as a leader and really helped me to grow. Currently, I work at the Dayton Art Institute with Michael Rediger, and he really does inspire me every day, the way that he's, in the last 7 years, been able to grow the museum and make major improvements that were really needed. And he's done that through servant leadership, through bringing others along to join him in the journey and to be a part of it instead of, barking orders. He's shown people how to get there with him. He's just a very kind, generous leader. I think when we got to the museum, there was a lot of work to be done, and I think one thing when you're taking off a big bite is how to eat the elephant. And how to figure out how you're going to get to where you need to be as part of a long process and put a good plan in place and a good structure to get there. And I think when you've got those kind of big projects, they can sometimes feel insurmountable. But I think when you take several steps back and really try to look at it holistically and put a really good plan in place with really great people. I'm fortunate to work with a team of amazing professionals who make work a lot of fun and who get the job done. Working in an art museum, it just begs for creativity. I think creativity is so important in business because you do have to think about things outside the box. I think it's where you get to a more exciting end destination with usually a better product when you can think differently about it. And Apple, their tagline, think different. You've got major companies that see the value in finding creative ways to do anything from engineering and STEM areas to the arts.
I heard this question about challenges. I thought, well, it's time management, because trying to juggle directing the Family Resource Center, running a campaign, and then the family mix in. That is a challenge. But actually my hardest challenge is people judging as a candidate. People judging you for your party affiliation or one notion they have about you because of actually my last name has come up. I'm being judged for that. That's been very hard. And it just makes me go back to how smart my kids are, by the way. And my daughter said to me, "You are so much more than how somebody would rate you." So the characteristic I think every leader should possess is valuing others. I think when we value others, we empower them to their greatness. And Jack Welch, who is the former executive of General Electric, said, you first work to grow yourself, and then when you're a leader, you work to grow others. And I think that is very important to know, that if you value other people, then they are going to excel. And I think that you encourage creativeness when you aren't a discourager, when you're open. And at the Family Resource Center, a large part of our workers are actually volunteers that might just be there an hour, but they offer fresh eyes and ideas. And if you discourage that and just have them do a task, then a lot of things that are wonderful would never get done. I'm a little bit of an OCD person. If you really know me, you know that my spices are in alphabetical order. My kids really hated that growing up. My husband still hates it, because if I do not find the onion in the O's, you've got to think past that as a leader. You have to think past that. You don't need everything in the O column. You really need somebody to think that P's might be better before.
What would I tell 21-year-old Kate? I wouldn't change too much. 21-year-old Kate was doing pretty well, but I think if I could go back and give her some advice, I would tell her to be a little kinder to herself and to recognize that there's not one perfect way to do something or just one path. You really do have to find your own way, and as much as that advice always frustrated me and I just really wanted one answer or one solution, it really is a process that takes time, and maybe just to take it a little slower and be okay with that. Although I have a feeling that 60-year-old Kate will probably give the same advice to me now, so. My leadership philosophy really focuses on servant leadership. That's a concept that I encountered in my MBA program, and I really liked it. It's the idea that a leader isn't somebody who's above or or better than. I don't want to be the one who's out there in front leading the charge. I'd rather be in the midst of my team and working for them. That's what my job is, to be there to make sure that my team has what they need to do their jobs. There are so many decisions, big and small, and I think they all make a difference. Some of the bigger decisions I'm looking at right now are the staffing structure for my team and what equipment do we need to keep us successful now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But small decisions are important too. So I really try to make sure that I'm listening to my team and making sure that I give them what they need to be able to do their job every day.
I believe every leader should possess humility, and by that I mean the understanding of their team, their team's aspiration, and the overall mission. If a leader does not possess humility, they won't be able to relate with their team. I feel that people that we have on our team have a great skill set and everyone can bring something to the table. As leaders, it's our job to make sure that we bring those qualities out in our team members and help them succeed in the future. I think one of the main challenges that I'm faced with as a leader is the ability to evolve with change. I think all leaders, it's important for us to evolve with change so that we don't become stagnant. And that includes change within our team, change within our respective industries, and changes within ourselves. If we become stagnant, then we aren't going to be able to recognize changes within the industry and help our businesses continue to grow. For me, my leadership philosophy is that hard work and dedication are the foundation of any successful business. Bridging the gap between past, present, and future through innovation is what keeps our businesses successful. Through my leadership, I hope to inspire and encourage others to do excellent things in our respective industries. And overall, I expect personal and team accountability and judgment when faced with very difficult business decisions.
Two successful practices that I do is prioritizing my day. I think it's very important to prioritize your day, as I learned at an early age that utilizing the ABC model, which A meaning the highest priority, to start your day and making sure that those tasks are done first. The other thing, of course, is doing lists all day. I think it's really important to utilize strength-based. You always to look at the accomplishments that you can do by actually looking at those strengths and not being negative, and really showing them that that is important and crucial to you, because we always want to make sure that we look at that. And I think it's very important to mentor the next generation for them to look at their successes and accomplishments. To impact a cause, which is really important to me, is Optimist. Optimist, of course, is Friend of Youth. I work with youth and families my whole career, 37 years to be exact. What better opportunity and club to be involved with because of that. I have been an Optimist member since 1990. I have served as many offices, president, vice president, along with state positions. As this year, I'm going to be lieutenant governor for the District of Ohio.
I will say that the guiding principle of my life will be true to myself and stay positive. I believe that when you are true to yourself, you are abiding by the goals that you set your mind into. And it's so easily sometimes to lose focus of how to do things and what is it that you want to accomplish in life when you have the influence of other people in your life. But by staying true to who you are and what is it that you want to accomplish, you can actually set your goals and go after them. It's not a solo thing. you have to have the support of the people that are next to you and actually have role models. Those role models and the people that are next to you will help you with staying true to yourself. In the last few years of my life, I have been able to find strength in my fiance, just because he grew up very humble, but that didn't stop him from what he wanted to do. He has always told me, once you set a goal, do your best to accomplish it. Don't stop until you do it. Leadership comes with the people that you're surrounded by. And having the right people next to you, finding the right people that can guide you, do the things that you want to do, it's extremely important. I will say that Yvonne Bravo has been a great mentor for me. She is the one person that will always be positive and be encouraging to people and try to set up people in the right path.
My leadership philosophy is that I'm an authentic leader. And so what that means is that I really believe in people and I invest in people. But also with that, I believe in being original and doing things that fit exactly what the situation may be. Sometimes traditional, sometimes untraditional. I also try to work really hard to improve the folks who work for me. It is very rewarding to see others go on that has worked with me to do leadership and be a part of leadership and see that some kind of way that something that I did or something that I poured into them is continuing to move forward to other people's legacy as a part of my legacy. A stall is not always a no or a lack of what will happen in the future. It's an opportunity to regroup, restructure, refire, and come back to be even better than before. It's an opportunity to be an intrinsic look, take an intrinsic look at yourself and decide what's next. And so, although it's not a fun situation at times, you just have to remember that a stall is not necessarily a no. It's an opportunity for something that you might not even have realized was coming. Important decisions that we make in my business as an educator, period, is about the lives of children, which also impact not only families, but our community. And so some of those things that really keep you up at night are those situations in which you're trying to find ways to create opportunities for young people, especially in a culture where public education is seen as something that is a negative or derogatory, to create an environment within the community where resources are available to meet the needs and the growing, changing needs of our children, but also prepare them to leave from school and be a positive product for our community.
When I was thinking about what I would want to go back and say to myself as 21, or what I would say to young professionals who are kind of just starting out in the business, is, find good people to surround yourself with, whether this is me or them, because I think it's so important to find good people that can support you or help you or really even just coach and mentor you into being a successful person. I always tell my team, complacency really breeds complacency, and I think that that's something that young people can really get stuck in. It's like, okay, I've gotten to this point, I'm good here, I'm gonna stay here a couple years. I really, would want to tell myself, hey, push quicker, and I tell my reps all the time, push quicker and push further. One thing people don't know about me is I'm actually a huge history buff. I was a history major in school, which has nothing to do with what I do now, but worked out pretty well. But I absolutely love early American history, anywhere from the French and Indian War up to the early American Revolution. I'm a huge history nerd, reading history books and making my husband watch all these fun history documentaries on Netflix. I wouldn't consider myself a really brave person. I don't do bungee jumping or anything like that. I'm terrified of heights. But one of the bravest things I've ever done was I moved to Dayton without really a good plan in mind. My mom might say it's not the bravest, more of the dumbest, but it worked out well. But career-wise, I think the bravest thing I ever did was when I decided I wanted to be a leader at LexisNexis. I wanted to be a people manager. I walked into my vice president's office and said, hey, you have this open management position. I want to be considered for it. Here's reasons A, B, and C why I should be. And he kind of looked back at me oh my gosh, all right, well, okay, well, here's what we'll do. and kind of like threw them off a little bit, and definitely threw off the people that interviewed me, you know, kind of being that dark horse in the race. But it was the bravest thing I've ever done, and I was really lucky that it worked out.
The most proud I've ever been was when we got to join with Dayton Hospice of Dayton, and we were able to work the fashion runway show. Not only did we network with an amazing group of stylists, we were actually able to raise $33,000 for such a selfless organization, and we were also able to become Dayton's top salon for 3 years in a row. That was my proudest moment ever. Well, right now we're working on expanding our internship program. We just recently partnered with Greene County Career Center in the cosmetology trade, and we're able to place young stylist students in salons this summer, so they're able to actually receive extra hours. The state regulates these students so intensely that if they miss a day of school, or let alone a week of school, then they fall behind. So right now, these students this summer were able to be placed in local hair salons, and they're ahead of the game right now. We were in an editorial issue in a magazine, so that's something that is very new to us. It was really a great team building. We went together and we just thought we'd try it. And a worldwide magazine picked us up, a Spanish magazine called Estetica, and we're actually going to be featured in an issue of their magazine. So that's something we're learning. We're getting ready to go to New York to do some more editorial classes.
Probably the most influential person that I have met along my journey to become a psychiatrist was Dr. Ann Morrison. When I was still a resident, I went with her weekly to do home visits for an entire year, and that is when I decided to do community mental health. And she deeply cares about these people. They're often underserved, kind of the indigent people who get ignored, and she would go to their homes, their apartments, their group homes, and sit with them and talk with them. And I was very impressed by this, because I would venture a guess most people didn't speak to them this way. And I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. For me, over the last several years, I have been getting very involved in minimalism, which is sort of this idea of ridding your life of excess things that don't bring joy or don't have function. And it's helped me sort of focus on the experiences rather than the possessions in life. There is a quote, Frank Sinatra said, if you possess something and you can't give it away, then it possesses you, or something kind of to that matter. And there's some truth to that, to be able to give away a possession and not really miss it. Like, okay, I don't really need all that stuff, but the experiences, spending more time with my kids, my friends, my family, has really changed the way I look at stuff. I have 4 children, and they've been through this with me, the oldest obviously since before I started med school. And just seeing the way they've been able to be mature and handle lots of different things that have come along the journey of becoming a psychiatrist. And they've all become these individual little people, and I can see where little things in life that we did together influences what they want to be or what they're becoming. And they make me very proud.
I think the biggest challenge facing leaders today is really having enough time. I think leaders are spread very thin. They're responsible for going to a lot of meetings where they need to be at those tables to represent their organization and the mission of their organization. And I think that really prevents them from being as present and available to their team and their staff as they need to be. And I think that because I think it's our responsibility also to develop new leaders. And you can't do that unless you are present and you are available to be supportive, encouraging, and then also to empower them. One thing I could do to impact a cause that I believe in is to be a strong advocate. I think in the health and human service world that I live in, we can make lots of decisions about how to make investments and to support research-based strategies to help people. But if we're not able to impact or affect legislation and policies that are made, then oftentimes people end up stuck in a cycle And it's very challenging just with investments to change the trajectory of their lives. And so I think for all people, it's very important to advocate. And what that really means is make sure you're registered to vote, make sure you show up to vote, call your elected officials, mail them a letter. The one thing people don't know about me is that once I made an audition tape for Survivor, and I was notified for a callback, and I got to go to Chicago to interview directly with the recruitment team. Now, I did not get accepted to the final. However, it was a blast, and my kids were in it, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and maybe another time.
I encourage creative thinking in our organization, Super Party Network, by actually teaching people how to think of ways to help each other and ways to help other people besides themselves. So if we can do that, I think creativity kind of comes automatically. My current goal is to take Super Party Network and bring it to as many people as possible. It's something that can help direct sales professionals, and I think the more people we touch, the more people we're going to help. My leadership philosophy is very simple. It's together, everyone achieves more, which is also the tagline of our company. We really truly believe that we can do a lot of stuff on our own, but the more we gather together and help each other out, the more we're going to accomplish.
I think every leader should possess integrity, compassion, and trust. That is one of my company's 5 core values. If you lead with integrity and you show everybody around you compassion, that's going to help you build trust with all of the relationships that you need to have your business be successful. I'm learning that there's no such thing as a work-life and home-life balance. I think that kind of sets you up for false expectations that one day you're going to do something and everything's going to click and be perfect. But as a busy mom and as a busy boss, you have to be able to adapt and change and grow. So I think it's more about finding a work-life harmony. Especially for me, it's a family business. So I work with my husband, my kids come to work with me. We have to be able to be happy at work and at home if we want to be successful everywhere. Well, I make a ton of decisions, but I think the best one that I feel most passionate about is kind of the tone, setting the tone and the voice for our company. We teach swim lessons, but we also teach more than that. We provide water safety presentations for our community. I believe that it takes a village, and so I'm so happy to be a part of this village in Dayton, and I want to give back whenever I can. So offering free water safety presentations is just something that I'm really passionate about, because hopefully working together with the school districts, we can lower the statistics.
One characteristic I believe that every leader should possess is integrity and honesty. One way is I mentor students and the next generation of designers through the fashion design program at the University of Cincinnati, or just lovely young women who come to my shop and want to know more. I'm happy to teach them. I've survived the recession, very proud of that. Now I'm in growth mode. I want my company to grow again, and it is. So I'm enjoying that. Long-term goal, just keep growing, keep servicing the gala and bridal needs of the community.
The guiding principle of my life, or rather than be so structured with it, I like to, I don't even establish goals in life, I think of them as dreams. And the person who, he gave a quote, Vincent van Gogh, I dream my paintings and I paint my dreams. The biggest challenge that I face in the theater is getting outside criticism from people who may not understand the business. I think especially women in business today, the criticism from the outside, even a small little comment can just ruin your whole entire day. You know, you're having the greatest day and somebody says, oh, here's my opinion, and it could be an email. I find words, especially in emails, texts, they just don't come across maybe as they should, but we put emotion that might not be in there. So at the plaza, all of our employees are either former volunteers or people who love movies. So we just let them in the movies and participate in our audience.
One piece of advice I would give myself is to be kinder to my siblings, and the other would be to save money. And also accept the fact that you're not going to know what you want to do with the rest of your life and be okay with that. Just to enjoy the experiences. So I am reading lots of books, but honestly what I'm learning right now is more about how to say no, which has been a big issue, especially in the last couple of years. So I'm learning to prioritize what needs to be done, and just, I know that I want to say yes to everything, but I might not be the person that's actually best for the job because I've got other stuff on my plate, so I can't dedicate myself to it. You know, honestly, I'm most proud of my family and the relationships I have with them. I've got a husband who is wonderful and supportive, and I've got these 2 little girls that I actually show up and I'm present for. My younger siblings and I have great relationships, and I've got a wonderful relationship with my mom, and my dad actually enjoys working with me most of the time, and 14 years ago that wasn't going to be the case. I made a decision 14 years ago that changed the trajectory of my life, and that is what I'm most proud of, and I couldn't be more grateful for the people that helped me along that journey.
Well, my leadership philosophy is one of openness and transparency, as well as being very collaborative, and everything is about teamwork. So while I might be the boss, if you will, I'm not truly the boss. I'm part of that leadership team, including the rest of my staff, and it's always been that way, even when I was in Girl Scouts or when I was at other positions where I wasn't the boss. It's always all about working together as a team to get the job done. It is all about mentoring, and it is all about working together. Like I said, it really comes down to that teamwork. What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And figuring out a plan and then connecting them with the right resources that are either right here in our community or wherever they happen to wanting to be. Well, my 4th grade teacher impacted my life forever. He was brand new to the school district and teaching, so he had a lot of new, fresh ideas. So the way that he was very creative in getting us to learn was definitely a huge thing. It has followed with me forever. And then I had the pleasure of having him in 6th grade again. So just always being challenged to do better and do bigger. I guess that has followed with me even through my career today. It's always not just stopping when the project is done. It's how does this look and how can this be just a little bit better to make things look good and presentable and make a wow impact.
I would say the guiding principle of my life is just to maintain a positive attitude. I've learned that there are lots of things we cannot control in our life, but one thing we all definitely have the power to control is our attitude. I believe life is 10% what happens to me, 90% how I react to it. I know that's a quote. I have no idea who said it, but it really does speak to me. I think positive attitudes result in positive action. The kinds of decisions that I make that I think are important are whenever I start a project, I try to go into it with a clear vision and well-defined strategies. I think today everyone is always so busy and doesn't always take the time to properly plan and really think about a project before jumping in. So I try to do my best to put together a well-thought-out plan. I also think it's really important to have the right people around the table. I think the more you can collaborate with your coworkers or with maybe the partners you work with in the community, the better the end result's going to be. Well, when I hear the word brave, I first think of soldiers, police officers, first responders, those people who are truly choosing to put their life on the line to make our community and our country safer. I really admire those people, and I'm not sure I've done anything quite that brave before. But I also think being brave is something you can choose to do when you're put into a tough situation, maybe something stressful, sad, or maybe when things are uncertain. For me, I would say the bravest thing I've ever had to do is stay strong for my mom when she was dying of cancer about 2 years ago. My mom was the bravest woman I ever met, and that was a really hard thing for me to do. But I did it, and I think you find an inner strength in yourself when you're put in those situations.
I can think of a lot of things I would tell myself if I could go back to when I was 21. But I think what I would really say is to not take myself so seriously. I was one of those students who really threw myself all in really quickly. I was involved in every club. I was a leader of every club. And I think I kind of burnt myself out pretty quickly, and I lost a little bit of that time just enjoying myself. It's really important that you just take it easy and enjoy where you are in your life at the time. Things are so serious so fast once you graduate and once you move into your professional life that you don't really get the time to appreciate how easy things were when you were 21. My current goals are to continue to grow my business, but more importantly, it's to raise 2 successful independent young ladies. I have 2 daughters who are 9 and 11. And it's really important to me that I model balance to them. While I often find myself leaning into my career, it's also equally important to me that I lean out and they see what a priority they are in my life so that they in turn take that with them as they grow and become professional young women. You know, I really would say that I'm most proud of how incredible they are already at such a young age. I've got 2 very athletic and intelligent young ladies. My 11-year-old has already started to form a nonprofit organization to help the homeless in the Dayton region, and she did it entirely on her own. But really, I'm very proud of the fact that I can raise and have a strong family while also being successful in my professional life, while also volunteering and being a leader in my community. I feel if you really focus on it, you can find that balance and find that success in both professionally and personally.